Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. Here as always with Joe and Ryan. How are we doing this week?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, good, Lee. How are you, Lee? How are you getting on?
I'm good, thanks. Like to see you there, Grandpa Joe in his grandpa cap.
Yeah, I've been referencing. I've had a few comments of this. I've had Grandpa Cap, which is a brand new comment that Lee's just put there, and I've also had Peaky Blinders, and I've also had I look cool. So there you go. I
won't go as far as cool, but you do look good in it. I'll give you that, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for downloading, watching, listening, whatever way you are hearing or seeing the nation. We're, of course, across all social media platforms at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. Joe is everywhere under many different names. Just put in Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation into any social media platform, and you will get your face full of Joe. Speaking of which, we are live streaming right now. 8:30 every Tuesday is a plan on Instagram. So if you want to watch us live, you can get us there as well. I'm just logging in so I can see what's going on and the questions coming through as well.
We've already got someone join us. We've got single little princess join us. Thank you. Thanks for joining. And we've got the Listen to IN podcast, would you believe, has joined us? Would you believe that?
That sounds like a quality follow that does Listen to IN.
Cindy's joined us as well. Prairie Dodgers has joined again. Fantastic. Look at that. Hi, Cindy. Fantastic. Look at this.
So, Joe, what are we talking about for this week's inspiration?
We are talking about increasing your production capacity. And this is about production versus production capacity. Now, I read this in Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. And it talked about the story of the golden goose. Does everyone know the story of the golden goose? You remember the golden goose, guys?
I'm going to say yes, but hope you don't ask me to elaborate on that answer.
Hey, can you please elaborate on that answer?
I can't right now. All I can think about is a hen that lays golden eggs in Jack and the Beanstalk, but obviously that's not it.
So there was a goose that could lay golden eggs. Anyway, the farmer who discovered that this goose could lay golden eggs anyway, was like really, really happy because he was really poor, and he had this golden goose, and the golden goose laid a golden egg, solid gold egg every day, and they had it tested. It was amazing. It was like solid gold, and every day he would like go and get this egg and he would become very, very rich. Hi Cindy, hello. And yeah, so but what he did, and the thing we're talking about production capacity, increasing your production capacity, is around what the farmer actually did about that. What do you think the farmer did to want to have more, to have more of these eggs? What do you think he did?
Bought more chickens.
Worked the goose harder.
That almost, but even worse than that.
Did he put the goose out to stud?
No, none of that. Right. I'm going to put you out of your. What did you say, Ryan?
Did he get more geese?
No, did not get more geese. So what he did to try and get more eggs, right? That's the clue. Trying to get more eggs. What he did was he killed the goose because he opened up the goose and thought there were more eggs inside. Of course, when he opened up the goose, there was no more eggs, and he destroyed the beautiful goose that was producing these amazing eggs, right? And this is what we call destroying, obviously, production capacity. And this can happen in business when we work people to the bone, really just keep banging on about it. If you don't look after yourself, if you don't, service your lawnmowers or your cars, you're going to run things ragged. And that's the key today. It's about making sure we can balance production with production capacity. So we can look at it as an individual, we can look at it as a business, we can look at it either way, right? So if we're an individual, I was going to wave to Expira, welcome. If we look at an individual, you can destroy your own production capacity by 1, not learning new things, 2, just working far too hard and not getting any rest, and 3, maybe just not doing anything at all, not producing, right? So that's your production capacity. So if you don't look after yourself, you're not going to produce much. If you burn out, you're not going to produce much, right? Your capacity is the skill, the learning, whatever the output is, right? That's your capacity. So if you look after yourself, you eat well, you get the skills, you get all those sorts of things, then you're going to produce a lot more, right? And do you know what I'm saying with the hat, Lee, don't you? And so just saying that, right? And so with a business, this can happen when we maybe put too much on people. Maybe they're overloaded, maybe they don't take breaks, especially now with COVID and things like that. People have now got to be much more, you've got to have discipline around making sure they take regular breaks off their machines and don't just get tempted into running all hours, right? Because it's really easy, right? I'll tell what I do. I'll just finish that bit of work. I'll just work another couple of hours, and before you know it, they're working a ton of hours and they're potentially burning themselves out. So this is what I'm talking about, production and production capacity. And this is what I want to talk about today. So it's really important that we use it either for ourselves and for if we're in a business or if we're a manager or a leader, leading people. So I wanted your views on that, whether this affected you personally or whether you have got an example. What do you think, guys?
Am I allowed a break at work, Lee?
No, just to be clear, no, you're not.
Right, okay. I did wonder.
Right, this is a really good point, but I don't know whether you can elaborate on this point.
I was going to clarify it. So, I mean, where I work at the moment, we've got everyone's working at home, as is the case, for most office-based things. And one of the benefits we've had off the back of it is allowing flexibility for people, because there's got to be reasonableness, easy for me to say, to it. But ultimately, as long as the work gets done, I'm not fussed if that happens in one big stint with breaks in between it. As long as people are hitting requirements, especially where people have got kids and stuff like that, is allowing that flexibility around anything. And I think, like you said, Joe, it's a double-edged sword with working at home, because you can take advantage of that flexibility, or you can fall into the trap of suddenly realizing you've not left your seat for 8 hours, because it's a lot easier to do that at home than it is when you're in the office, and you potentially risk burning yourself out. So I do think you've got to be careful with that sort of stuff. For a real example on this, actually, and we'll go very, very recent. We had a video chat, was it Sunday morning, Joe? Talk about a couple of bits. And you were very complimentary to me and said, "Godly, you're looking really tired." Which was true. Yeah, I was on Sunday, and I was on Monday, and I was a bit today. And I just think it's that effect where we've been busy at work, trying to get a few things ready for Christmas. This podcast, the other podcast I do that Ryan doesn't like me to talk about. And I just hit a point where my capacity of doing things was probably a bit more than it should. So I was deliberate on Sunday afternoon, yesterday when I logged off of work, and then today as well, to put a bit of balance in. Now, there's things like today, I worked through and I was deliberate to stop at 5:30. I then had to wrap some Christmas presents. So I sat down and watched some TV and I did a bit of that. And then I took an hour where I just played a game before we started doing this, just to make sure there was a little bit of stuff. Whereas I think if I wasn't feeling that, like pushing up against my tired point, I'd have probably used that time to do a few more other bits as well. So I was just making sure I balance it out, because as I'm sure as part of the message you're giving is, when you overwork yourself, you end up becoming slower with the time that you're doing stuff, and you end up putting more hours in, but you're not being as productive because you need to take that break for yourself, and it's important to balance that out. So yeah, I've been consciously putting in a little bit of downtime in the last few days, just because I was feeling that. And as you comment, it was Sunday morning. I'd got up. I had no reason to be tired, other than the fact that I was just pushing on that tired wall and I hadn't kind of had a break properly for a little while.
100%. Ryan, you got any views on this?
I always know when I'm overtired, as Lee puts it, and it's a bit grim, but I get little ulcers on my tongue. And I've got one now, actually, and I think it's because I've been a bit stressed about certain things that are happening at the minute at work and things like that, which is through no fault of anybody else's other than my own overthinking mind, I guess. But I think, whenever I never really get stressed, and it's really rare for me to admit that something stressed me out. But I think they're linked. I wouldn't admit that if I didn't feel overtired, and it wouldn't bother me so much if I didn't feel as tired as, not as tired as I do, but in that same vein. I
get the same thing you do, Ryan. And you are right, but I will get around my gums. I'll get mouthful ulcers. Is my body saying take
Stop.
a break?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's just exactly the same thing there.
So if we're sharing like bodily reactions,
oh no,
I'm going to share my bodily reaction with you too as well.
Is it safe?
I apologise in advance for everyone listening and watching.
So I get spots around my face. Like I get like when I get stressed, I get like spots around here. It's really strange. Like they just break out here. Like they'll just come out. So that's mine. And I know. Oh, but then I still like struggle. Even like we talk about this production capacity, I still struggle like pulling back a little bit. So I think I just need to do that. I can
have a longer break.
What's that? Go on, Ryan.
Oh no, sorry. Go on. No, I thought you were going to say something that I do, but no, go on.
No, I tend to. I'm probably my worst enemy because I'll tend to still push through, and probably I need to sort of in talking about it. Like actually, maybe I just need to step off a little bit. So that's what's for me. So that was mine. So we all got them. It's interesting.
But I get into a method of right at the minute, like specifically at the minute, I'm not going to get this rest period that my body aches for, if you like, until probably Christmas, which is fine because I've told myself that. If we were in the middle of May, I don't know, just a random month, middle of May, and there was no, we'll go June actually, so you can get bank holidays in May. But the middle of June, and there was the next bank holiday is the end of August. I've got no planned annual leave, and then for me, I can't see an escape. Everyone books holidays and they work for that time off. They work through that time. We've had this conversation loads of times. I think they work through that time off. They have that break, they reset, and then come back. But for me, I don't tend to book holiday until I kind of need it, unless it's my birthday. I'll take a week off on my birthday. But whereas now I know that Christmas is 10 days away when we record this. I know that it's only 10 days until I get that respite, if you like, and then I can recharge those batteries. And I've got enough in me to get me to that point. But that doesn't mean it won't take an effect on me and knock me for six, kind of, the bank holidays that we're off for. But I tend to get in the headspace that when I get like this, I don't tend to stop straight away, as you suggested, Joe, as you suggest you're quite similar with. I tend to kind of go, get this done, or get over this last mountain, and then you can take an extended bit of time to breathe. And that's more appealing to me than taking two shorter stints to complete the thing in the middle. I would rather get over the thing in the middle and have a longer kind of down climb, if you like.
Yeah, and I'm a person who works in bursts. I don't know if that's the same as you, right? I really work in bursts, and then I will have to like take some time out of it. That's how I work. I'll be really full on, and then I have to then go, hang on, I have to breathe, like you say, like maybe take that longer break rather than, do that. And I have worked in the past where I've come in on my shift days, I've worked longer hours to get stuff done, and the work will always be there. But I've definitely found, like Lee, we work those more hours, maybe work that overtime, then you come in and then you do that. I actually found that when I used to work later past my hours, I found that I was less efficient. Like, I produce much more during the day. When I still produce work, but it wouldn't be of the same capacity because I was tired. But you felt, I've got to stay. But actually, are we really being more productive? And that was a question I used to ask myself, really. But I did find that it would really burn me out. And coming on shift days and not getting rest is, recipe for disaster, really. And that produces, I think, the production capacity. And you're not as efficient. But what do you guys think of that?
In a time when we were in the office, I felt that I could be quite productive after hours, if you like. But since we've been working from home, and I really went out of my way to try and make sure I was getting up earlier and things like that, I find that I'm now most productive between like the time of like 8 and 11 in the morning. That's when I feel that's probably because that's when I have my most energy to just expel out, and then you get over the 11 till 12 drag, and then it's lunch or whatever, and then you can kind of regroup for the afternoon. But I definitely find I'm more productive now in the mornings, for sure.
But you, Lee, where's your productivity? Is it morning, later?
A blend of both. If I was on average, if you were to like plot it on a chart or something like that, the morning more than the evening. I think generally I will slow down later in the day. But similarly, there are times when I get those bursts of energy later on as well. But as a general rule of thumb, mornings more so than later into the day. And I think I am, and it's the same for work and then in like real life as well. I find it hard to relax if I've got stuff to do. And what I don't mean is like in my job that I do, there's always stuff to do. So when I log off, it's not like I sit there worrying about what I've got on the next day and stuff like that. I manage that okay. But if I've got a list of things I want to do in the house at the weekend, I couldn't like sit down for 2 hours and watch a film and then go and do those things. I'd want to get all the things done and get everything sorted and then have my rest at the end. And that's kind of, and I think that probably goes with the same thing. Once I'm down, once I've switched off and I'm in relax mode, it's hard to get going again. So I like to get everything done and then block at the end rather than do rest. Because by the end, if I'm doing a job really late in the evening, I'll be like, I could have been done by now if I didn't waste 3 hours earlier on. So it's generally my pattern, which I suppose, and I don't know, there's the other end of the spectrum on this conversation, I suppose, Joe, where there's creating production capacity as well, because as much as you don't want to burn out at one end of the scale, there's the other end where there's, you know, the common thing in personal life, professional life, everything is, oh, I've not got enough time. It's an instant reaction people have before they've planned to do anything. And I think we were having a conversation, Joe, around some of the stuff we do. You know, there was a time before we did Inspiration Nation where we weren't doing it. And then we started doing the podcast. It's like, oh, how are we going to find time to do it? And we went through various guides of the times that we do it. And then you were bugging me about Twitter and social media. So I'll have a go at doing that. So the time doing the podcast started to become natural, and then the time dipping into social media. Now it's become like, for me, it's a daily thing, but I found that time to do it and then still for other things. And again, there's an upper limit, but when you commit to doing something, it's amazing how much time you can create for yourself to do things when you want to put that focus in. I mean, you've referenced it quite a few times, and I see things on social media. Gary Vee's one that talks about it. You could waste 5 hours each evening watching Netflix. You'd only have to take 1 hour out of that every day to create 7 hours to do something in the week. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. I think actually Ryan references a little bit, I think a couple of podcasts ago, but I think there's got to be a want to do it. Like it's the thing that, you know, people got a lot of jobs, right? And I think there's probably a lot of people in a lot of jobs that really hate their jobs. We're quite lucky, obviously, us. We are lucky because we love our jobs. But a lot of people go to their jobs and they hate their jobs, right? And so when they're asked to do more, that is a default because they don't want to do it. But if we're doing things as we want to do them, and that's a big difference. And I think that's where people make the time rather than the other way around. But, oh, now I've got to fit this in. How am I going to put this in? And I think there's a big thing on that. And I get that because we're doing this, you know, in our own time. We're committed to it. We enjoy it. And I think there's a bit around, you know, doing that thing you love speaks to you a lot. You'll make time for things that you want to do, like planning for holidays, like getting married and all those sorts of things. You know, doing those sorts of things take a lot of time, but people do them because of the motivation
they want to do it.
Them. Yeah. And
I think that's important. If you are, you know, if it is, you have got a job that you don't particularly enjoy, you're doing it because you have to do it, is taking a little bit of that time you have outside of that job to invest in something you do want to do. And we did this years ago, didn't we, Joe? Way before we were doing podcasts or anything like that. And I was in a really bad place and asked you for a bit of help. And we sat in a room and you got me to plot out what was going on in my life. And pretty much it was work. And that was it. So if I was feeling it there, that's it. Everything was awful because I was feeling it. And you got me to kind of plot out other things that I can try and balance it out with, and I think I've still got in one of the drawers behind me. I think I've still got the thing we drew out, and that's got to be a good 4 or 5 years ago now, I reckon. But it does, because I have a number of different things going on, and you get to put your energy in different places, and you get, if one thing is a struggle and another thing's a reward, they help balance each other out. And it's important, you know, not just to dwell on what's there, but think about what it is you love. You know, you're not doing it necessarily to make money straight off the bat or get huge success or get huge numbers, whatever it is. You're doing it because you love it. And if you do it because you love it, the process kind of takes care of the results.
Yeah. And you just sparked something in mind actually about people talk about life balance, and I've been talking to like Simon. We spoke to Simon Squibb, and he talks a lot about this. The guy, millionaire in the UK, who's sort of helping people free entrepreneurs are free, and he talks about there is no real life balance really, because
I love that. He says there's no work-life balance. There's just life. I remember he said that on the interview you did, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah, and I watched a couple of his bits, and one of them said about he was on honeymoon with his wife, and he had this opportunity to speak to one of the richest men in China. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was on his honeymoon because he obviously loves what he does. He just calls it life. He went over and had a meeting with this guy and secured some business, which is amazing, which got him an amazing deal, right? But if you were talking about life balance, I'm going to separate my work from my, it depends what you love. And there's a whole, so my life balance to Lee's going to be different. My life balance to Ryan's going to be different because it's all our own version. I really like that. It's just life, like you said, Lee. It's just life, isn't it?
And there's no prescribed format. You've got the things you have to do, and then you've got the things you want to do, and they are going to be so different for different people on both fronts. And it's finding what works for you.
No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. And this sort of brings me back full circle about production capacity, because in Stephen Covey's book, he talks about if you've got like a machine and you don't service that machine, right, and you just run it, eventually that machine is going to break down. And that's like us, if we just don't look after ourselves, do the right things, like take the breaks or whatever, then that can happen to us. And it's a bit like the managers group as well, like the leaders. Sometimes leaders will like come along and set up all these processes and stuff like that, and then a new leader comes along, and what they've done, they've exhausted everything, and then they come along and they've got to fix all this thing, and then maybe their point is great because they've got to fix a load of things first before they can get things to work, right? But they may not be allowed that time. So again, this production capacity fits into so many different facets of your work life. It could be work life, could be home life, right? It could be, you spend some more time with your children, anything like that. What sort of dad do you want to be? What sort of partner do you want to be? What sort of, husband, whatever you want to be. It depends on, how you look after yourself and how much time you're going to spend doing that, really. So guys, do you got any more thoughts on that production, increasing it? So I suppose the question is, you got any more views before I ask another question on that?
Go with your next question.
I was just going to say, how do you think we can increase the production capacity?
That's what I thought you were going to say there.
Did you?
Reader. I am a mind reader, Jay. We spend far too much time together. It's one or the other. And I think that's, so it doesn't fall into the trap of it just being work, 100% of the time. It's important to retain that balance, I think, so you can be productive and you can be focused. And things like I've talked about in previous podcasts, where when I'm really full on, I kind of lose that creative time, and I sometimes need a bit of time doing nothing just to get the thoughts coming back into my brain to start planning and doing things and making sure that right balance is in place, but being focused, I think, as well, knowing what your goals are, knowing what you want to achieve. And like this with the podcast, it's not like there's a specific outcome, but I know I want to do it. So I know I make time for it every week, and the bits that go with it and other things I do. And there's other hobbies I'd love to get involved in, but I know I haven't necessarily got the time for that one right now. And I focus on something else. I've got my time so that I don't burn myself out. But I am being mindful to not just fall in that trap of working, watching TV, and getting the balance. So it's a bit of a ramble to say mental discipline, I think.
No, mental discipline is good, like training, isn't it? So discipline, some struggle with the word discipline, but discipline really is training, isn't it? It's really training your mind. But I like the thing about you saying about just going off and doing nothing and just letting your mind wander. Simon Squibb talks about that. He says some people say you've got to work hard, but he says don't work hard. Just have space for you to think as well. Sometimes take a step back.
That's how you come up with solutions and how you innovate.
Go on, sorry,
that's how you come up with solutions and how you innovate. Einstein used to talk about that a lot, who I think we can all agree was a smart guy and achieved a bit. And he used to just go for walks on the beach for the purpose of just having a walk to let his mind wander. And it's a really good bit of advice, I think.
I didn't know that, actually.
There's a load of really good stuff about Einstein and that sort of space on kind of mindfulness and thought process and giving yourself time. And walking on the beach was a big one of his.
I really like that, because sometimes I do come up with sometimes we're just doing something like sitting, and then I'll suddenly get an idea for what we do, right? And that's what will just pop out. It's amazing what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I love that.
What do you think, Ryan, on increasing capacity or maximizing capacity?
I think it's individual to each person, obviously. Some people can make magic out of a mess, and others need a clean slate to see the clear picture, I guess. I think as adults, or if you're not, I think as adults you know in yourself what you can do to get the most out of yourself. But if you're not an adult, then there's definitely many things to learn and try, and you're not going to get it first time, for sure. I think it's just a case of trial and error until you find something that makes you kind of want to work. For me, I like refinding my motivation, whether that's kind of talking to you guys or talking to somebody in a professional context that I'm involved with and helping or whatever. It differs really. I think that's when I feel I always know when I'm ready to go back at it, because I'm ready to take 15,000 opportunities that may not even exist to me, but I'm ready to jump. I'm ready to offer myself.
That energy, yeah.
Yeah, and I can always tell when I'm out of it, because if anyone came to me asking for help, I'm literally ready to run and hide. So it just takes the time to work out what it is you need and what and want and whatever, and to kind of reset that mindset, I think.
No, I love that. No, I totally into that. And again, we all need, like Ryan said, we all need individual ways of approaching it, but making sure we don't burn ourselves out. So I just wanted to sort of run through a few of the comments we got on the Insta. Cindy, put recipe for a happy life. And I'm not sure where that was in there, but I was just trying to spot where that was. And also love nature. So again, that walk thing that you guys were like doing. So I think Cindy goes out into nature quite a lot, actually. Posts, she does a lot of stuff around nature and stuff like that. So yeah, so love nature. I get out, I try, and when I run, I'll when it's not that dark, I'll try and run down this local place we got, but it's a bit dark. I've done it a couple of times, but it's a bit scary when it's like early in the morning. But it's really nice to get out and about when you hear the birds and stuff. I never used to be like that at all. But definitely out in nature, I think when I'm running, I actually feel the most inspired. That's when I get really great ideas. I'll just like pull my phone out. I think my best ones are when I'm running. I think they just come to me. I don't know what it is. It's really strange. When your mind's like focused on doing difficult things or something, things just to pop into your head. It's really weird. As opposed to look up in the morning, I'll read something, I'll still get some inspiration, but I just feel those moments come to me when I'm out running. And I still don't like running. I still don't like it to do it because it's meant to be good for me, right? It's difficult, but so that's how I feel about it. But yeah, so getting out in nature. Thanks for that. Oh, hang on. Why do you run with a bum leg? I've been asked. A bum leg. I imagine it's like a dodgy knee. I think that's what you're saying there, aren't you, Cindy? Yeah, I have done. That was quite difficult. It was quite difficult. Yeah, it was hard. I had to get a rest actually, so I had to run a bit later. I had to go a little bit later in the week. So I went running, I think Sunday, wasn't it? I think I did a video on running Sunday. So thanks, Cindy. Really appreciate it actually, because you keep a track on a lot of things that I do. So I appreciate that, really. But yeah, I love that bum leg. That must be something. You're in Canada, right? I think you're in Canada if I got right. Winnipeg, somewhere around there, right? I think, if I'm right. But bum leg, yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I think, guys, what do you think?
It's just your old man knees kicking in, Joe. That's what it is.
The old man knees.
It's the right one. It's the killer. Really difficult, and
that was your powering through, wasn't it? Which you did for a while.
Yeah, I had to do it for the whole of November. That was, yeah. I could not do it. I could not. I went for a slightly shorter run, just so I didn't kill the knee. But I did do a run every day, and that was the key to it all, really. Because I've done some really quite, some sort of like almost 9-10 Ks, but then the knee really started to hurt, so I had to sort of reduce that down a bit. But again, production capacity, right?
That's it. Stay motivated. And I think it's good, Joe, because back to our favourite quote, I posted it the other day, and someone commented on it being one of their favourite quotes for InspirationNation, which is not being busy, being productive. And I think it's important to have that focus. So you're not just being busy and doing stuff, but you're being productive and you're achieving stuff while you're doing things, whether that's something really big and important or something mundane, and just keeping going.
Yeah, I just want to say shout out to Stewie247 just come on. Hi Stu. We know Stu. Thanks, man, for coming on. Really appreciate you, my friend. Another person joining the podcast live. So it's great. This is good, this. Look at this.
It's excellent stuff. I am enjoying doing these lives as we're doing it as part of it, Joe. Before we wrap up, of course, we've got to give a quick plug to inspirationnation.org.uk. Stick that into your Google machine. Head over, get your merchandise there. You can get your hoodies. Me and Joe are sporting. T-shirts, mugs, mug shot for the camera if we've got them in sight, guys.
Yeah, I'm doing it to the
there we go.
I'm doing it to this one as well.
Inspiration Nation mugs. Ryan was a little bit late to the party, but he got there in the end. Head over, get all your fantastic Inspiration Nation merchandise. Get some for Christmas, of course, for those that you love. And details there of the Inspiration Nation coaching service. You can check it all out. If you're interested, just drop us a message.
Sounds good, Lee.
Yeah, I ran out of what I was going to say there. There's a
I
little bit of a
thought
quiet
you did.
pause. Yeah, my brain had a little moment. This is the tiredness kicking in, see? Inspirationnation.org.uk, that is.
I was just saying, Cindy Prairie Dodger said, I've been enjoying these also. So
it's fantastic to hear. We love that.
We do some, it's really great. It's really lovely. So really appreciate it, you coming onto these. I know, because we've all got, let's say, productive lives, right? I didn't say busy, so that. Yeah,
I like it, productive
lives. And Cindy's very regular with her content as well. So go check out Prairie Dodgers if you get a chance. Lots of content there, lots of lives. So go over there and do that as well. There you go. I just thought I'd help someone out there. It's good.
I forgot to mention as well, we have, as is for 2020, right on brand, we have Inspiration Nation face masks as well.
Oh yeah, we have, haven't we?
Yes, we do. Again, inspirationnation.org.uk. Thank you for listening, watching, joining us on Instagram Live. We appreciate it all very, very much. And we will be back again next Tuesday. You can get us across all podcasts. I do that a lot. Podcast platforms.
Yes.
On YouTube as well. Just hit subscribe on any of those platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all the rest. Leave us a review if you think we appreciate it. Check us out on social media. I'm really tripping over my words. This will be easy now. Joe is Jose Noya, Jose Noya. Stick it into the search engine on any social media platform. Tag on the words Inspiration Nation, and you'll get all of Joe's fantastic content, including those fantastic daily videos. We, the show, are at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. We appreciate all the support, helping to get the message out there. Right. I think I'm running out of words, so we might be done.
We're getting some love from the Instagram, getting some hearts. I love that.
That's what I like to see.
And also, if people are on here, Lee's actually just entered the podcast for a competition. I don't know how you get hold of it or you vote for us, but I don't know. Maybe Lee will make that available. If there's any love from the nation needed to boost our ratings or boost that chance of winning that trophy.
Go on, leave us some comments. That is the best way to help us out there. Good plug, Joe. Right, as I'm struggling with my sentences, it must be time to wrap us up.
Go on, Lee. You do it, my friend.
Cool. Another great show. Thank you, Joe. We'll be back again next week. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys later.